Ow, what you talking about? Food for thought, K. Lou, what you talking about? K. Lou, how you doing? You good?
Yeah, you good?
I am grantastic, fantastical.
Awesome sauce.
So, we're going to jump straight into tonight's episode. And it is, first of all, it's good to see your face. I ain't seen you in forever.
I know.
You don't love me, though. You out here in these streets.
Well, I haven't been out in these streets because I sprained my ankle.
How'd you sprain your ankle?
Going to CCBZ.
Oh, wait, were you trying to do the dance? I eat you right, I will. I'll make you. No.
I
What
wasn't even
happened?
in the building.
How'd you hurt yourself before you were doing the dance in the middle of the street?
No. I wish that was my story or something relative to tennis and I won. No. I was just walking and next thing I knew I was man down. And then I jumped up in a yoga pose and I just kept walking.
But you actually sprained your ankle, or
I
is
actually
it?
sprained my ankle.
Oh, jeez,
Yeah.
that sounds crazy.
It is.
Is
But it feels better.
is everything okay?
So.
Okay. Well, so you're listening to Food for Thought watching, vibing out to Food for Thought with Karen and Ernest. And I want to start the show by telling people where they can find us. You can find us on Instagram at Food for Thought with K and E. You can find us there on Threads. You can also give us a follow on YouTube at Food for Thought with K and E. And there we are at all of those places. So that's the first thing to start off with. So, jumping straight into all of the stuff that's happening in the food world, so Cole's is a sandwich shop that is a heritage sandwich shop here, and you can get a French dip here in LA.
Yes.
And they are closing.
Yeah, but not really. Are they?
Actually, I wonder if that is a marketing play, because every time. So to give you guys the backstory, what we're talking about is Cole's is, which is a sandwich shop that has been open for French dips.
Yeah.
And has been open for like 100 years.
Yes.
And they are supposed to have been closing. Now, they are supposed to have been closing for the last like 2 months or 3 months. And
a little bit more than that, because I drug you out with me about 4 months ago. Oh my God, we have to go. And we stood in line.
which we never do.
Which like 100 people. And I got there first, and I was trying to get in my head like how I negotiate our entrance before everybody else. Who are we? Ernest knows everyone. I'm going public PR and K. Lou. So we figured we could get in, and then we were just like, let's just wait it out. And so the line went really quick. Literally, I dragged Ernest out there. I was like, we have to go before they close. And then while we're in line, we're reading one of our favorite journalist stories, and it's like, they got another 45 days.
Yeah.
So my question is, they should be closed by now, and you just alerted to me.
Alerted to me?
Oh,
Hooked on phonics work for me.
You just alerted and informed me that they are still open.
Yeah, they are still open, and they have gotten an extension, which it seems like they're going to be going for another few weeks or another few months, which really does beg the question, is it a publicity stunt?
I mean, I didn't think about it like that, but now that they've had 2 extensions, I mean, it could be, or just buying some time, because people have literally been standing in lines and, having at it. And a few years ago, maybe like 2012, 2013, like that was my spot. Like I'd go in there and I'd get the turkey or lamb French dip, which I was so excited about that they had alternative meats. And then I'd have that old fashioned on tap, and it was a really good old fashioned considering it was pre-batched. And so they were the jam for a minute. And now it seems like, to Ernest's point, a legacy brand is going out of business. But again, I say, are they?
So you said something interesting that I wasn't aware of. You said that they had alternative meats. What does...
Well, I mean, like generally when you go to a French dip place, they may not have lamb and turkey. They may just have beef. Or something else.
Ham or turkey, but
lamb.
Lamb
or turkey. Oh my God, I'm right here.
You are right. You're right there. So, just to kind of give people, so that's the backstory. It is a heritage place, and Cole's, which is a historic restaurant, was supposed to be closing, and it is now supposedly closing permanently on Saturday, November 1st.
Okay.
So it is, the closure has been extended again due to strong, exactly what you said, strong community support following the initial announcement in July. The business cited a combination of factors for the closure, including the lingering effects of the global pandemic, as well as all of the other stuff. But in terms of why they keep getting extended, it is because of exactly what you're saying, that they've created a demand that people are like, oh my God, it's so good to be able to have that happen.
Yeah.
You know, we are talking about closures, and
Ernest and I are in here sweating.
we are sweating, and we're doing this for you.
Yeah,
Like,
he normally says,
we are doing this for
you're
you.
getting up in age, but I'm telling you, it's hot in
It
here.
is hot in
See?
here.
Oh my,
So,
pat your forehead and stuff.
yeah, we need to be. We need to have somebody in here like with those Michael Jackson "Remember the Time" fans. Like, you know, we need them to turn on the AC in the studio.
Oh,
but
my Lord.
so, you know, speaking of restaurants that are closing, you know, we have spoken on the show several times about many restaurants that are going out of business, and you were going to take me to a restaurant that you loved, and it's already gone.
Yeah, Coast with a K. It was located on Melrose and Citrus in kind of, I guess, quasi West Hollywood, but not really, probably more just LA. And this chef was unbelievable. He had done a collab with the chef from Crossroads, and we would have vegan stuff. I'm sorry. There were like 5 items. I'm getting hungry, so I'm a little whatever. They had 5 items from the Crossroads menu, and this chef at Coast made this deconstructed, like, what is it called? California roll that was unbelievable. And so they specialized in seafood. They had a great wine list, all the things. And I was going to take Ernest, and then I went to hit the GM, the partner, for a reservation because she said that's what we should do. And she literally told me they closed.
Yeah, it is definitely a sign of the times, and I want to make sure that people know that you're listening to Food for Thought, you're watching Food for Thought, you're vibing out with Food for Thought with Karen and Ernest. And since we are back and telling people about what we're doing, we are and as I said, you before the break, you are listening to Food for Thought, you are watching Food for Thought, you are vibing out with Food for Thought with Karen and Ernest. And before we were talking about restaurants that were closing, and you were telling me about Coast.
Coast.
Now, it was a partnership that was in line with, you said Crossroads, but wasn't it seafood?
Yeah, it wasn't a partnership. This was just a collab they were doing when I went.
Okay.
So it was just Coast, to your point, specializing in all kinds of seafood, which was delish. And then this particular day I went, they were doing a collab with Crossroads, maybe for a week. I'm not sure how long it was lasting. So there were 5 lovely vegan items on the menu, that particular thing. So you could order from Coast directly, or you could order any of the vegan menu items and all the good stuff. And I just happened to see our friend Mona there by accident. I was a party of one, as Naya would say, the real Naya Moore. I was a party of one, and I literally ran into Mona from Eater with her friend, and that friend became my bestie, and we just bonded over wine and bubbles and food, and it was so great and amazing. So I was like, I can't wait to take Ernest.
So, once again, you know, I like to make sure that I tell everybody that you're listening to Food for Thought with Karen and Ernest. You're watching us on YouTube at Food for Thought with K and E. You're also watching us on Instagram on Instagram at Food for Thought with K and E. You may be listening to us on the radio, so wherever you're getting it, you are watching, listening, vibing out to Food for Thought with K and E.
Yes.
And you know, so we are talking about the fact that, and we have spoken several times about restaurants that are closing.
Right.
And you were telling us about Coast and Coast having closed.
Right.
But how long were they open?
I don't know how long they were open, but they were fairly new. The other part I failed to mention is that it was a very intimate dining room. It was sexy. It was all the things, very diverse crowd. And I think what we all had in common is that we loved the food. The chef was wonderful. He came out and he was like, how's a guy from Dallas able to make a California roll? You know, but like I said, it was deconstructed. It was almost like a layered tuna tartare situation, but it was crab. So it was crab and avocado and all the goodness and richness that we love. And so to your point, they literally closed. And I think what I've been saying to you and some other friends is when you talk about, and you have emphasized on this show numerous times, the business of doing business in a restaurant and or LA specifically in other markets, there's so many places that are good. There's so many places that have talented chefs and places are closing. So I'm wondering if we could go back to yesteryear and maybe do what Chef Levi used to do from Cento. He was the lunch restaurant by day, and then there was another restaurant using the same space that was the dinner restaurant. And I think just in terms, again, of doing the business and being able to cut some of those costs, it's helpful when you can kind of split it. Now, I understand that every restaurant isn't a lunch restaurant, right? And I understand that every restaurant isn't a dinner restaurant, but if somehow people could partner to cut those costs to really create a demand, I really love, you know, Chef Levi's journey. I mean, like I said, it was maybe 12 seats, ironically enough, 2 doors down from Kohl's. Maybe 12 to 14 seats, 4 fresh pastas every day, bread and brie, 4 wines, and now he has this beautiful space in, you know, West Adams, his own restaurant, actually 2 restaurants, right? And so I'm just wondering if some chefs or even proprietors should consider doing something similar.
Yeah, in the words of Kanye, I'm gonna let you finish, but I want to go back to an important part of what you were saying. You went to this restaurant, Party of One.
Party of One.
You ran into our friend Mona Holmes from Eater LA, who, by the way, you know, we have some exciting news, so we're going to bring that up. But you went Party of One, and she was there with her bestie, and you have made his bestie, her bestie, your bestie. So you just out here stealing folks' besties. And you know, it's something that. But what I do want to kind of tap into is you said that there was a. You know, as we talk about these businesses closing, and you know, we're going to have Mona probably on the show next week or sometime soon. And we'll, you know, I want to talk to her and find out if she has any insight as to why these restaurants are closing.
Absolutely.
And it's obviously the business of it, but it's a sign of the times. Absolutely. And when you mention the saving or cutting of costs, Roy Choi, you know, like he had the Kochi truck before he had his actual in-store places. And I'm wondering what the opportunities are for proprietors, like you said, to be able to cut costs. And it may be going to the shared space model that you're talking about. It may be going back to the food truck kind of model that Roy Choi kind of originated and started before he got his brick and mortars.
Right.
I don't know what it is. And I would really love to be able to hear from our listeners on Instagram, on YouTube, whether or not they're dealing with these restaurant closures in their markets and where they are. So that's something that I'd love to find out.
The thing about Roy Choi, I could be wrong, but there's a bar in kind of west of Culver City, but east of Venice, and it's called Alibi.
Alibi, yeah, the Alibi.
Right. Wasn't Roy Choi providing that food?
Yeah, that is, unless something has changed, I think it's still a Roy Choi property.
But that's so interesting because I don't know if something to do some due diligence around. I don't know if he owned that bar outright or, like you said, in terms of collaborations and saving costs, if he was the food vendor for that bar. Unclear. We'll look into that. But even that could be interesting. You have a bar, and the bar believes they need food, kind of similar to our friend Cyrus spot, Lock and Key. Remember, you would be able to bring in food from neighboring places.
Yeah,
So I'm just saying that could be a cool collab too. Like you have a bar and then a food vendor, and then your food gets featured, and then you create this demand or brand yourself as a chef, and then you can get brick and mortar.
absolutely. But you mentioned Lock and Key.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Alibi. Now,
all
the
over
key
the
thing
place
that,
today.
no, but it actually makes sense.
Yeah.
Those places are actually bars that have food,
Yes.
as opposed to restaurants that have food
Right.
and a bar.
Right.
So, and also the food model, the food that you get at Alibi, and then the food that you get at Lock and Key, and I think Lock and Key is still open.
I think so too.
Both of them are the food is complementary to actually the liquor. They are like at Alibi Room you'll get tacos.
Yeah.
At Lock and Key you'll get like finger food so it may be and I don't know if we'll get into it on this show, but you bring up the liquor of it, but there have also been studies that have been saying that people are drinking less, but that's neither here nor there. As it applies to,
I don't even understand that.
oh yeah, we'll come back to that.
Okay.
But you're right. It is probably the business of it that is causing these places to kind of have to shut down, and we can only speak about LA because this is where we are.
Right.
But I'm wondering if this is happening in New York, in DC, in Dallas, all around the country.
I think it is because we have read about some recent closures in other places. And I think right about now, too, with all the chaos and mayhem that's going on in the world, I think people are holding their purse strings close to their heart, right? So people probably aren't dining out as much and all the things. So it is a really crazy time. And I think you mentioned something about one of the entities earlier. It's like, have we even done a study around, how can I say it? Have we done a study around restaurants that stayed open during COVID, but did they rebound? Right? Were they okay? Were they in the black? All the things. And then I think what comes to mind for me is, again, and you and I have discussed this a little bit, where it's interesting because there's just certain places that seem to keep thriving. You look at Bestia. I haven't been there in a while, but you look at Bestia. I was at Cento the other day on a Monday, got there at 5. There were, maybe 4 of us there. And then all of a sudden, when I left, there were no tables. You look at the place you turned me on to, Antico Nuevo. I mean, there's just certain places that I guess because they do food consistently and they have these loyalists, it's very interesting.
Well, speaking of places that that are open and thriving, that is a perfect segue for us to be able to tell our listeners about some exciting programming that we've got going on. So, Food for Thought with Karen and Ernest. She's the Karen, I'm the Ernest. We're going to be doing our first conversation series, Culinary Conversations, and we're going to be down at Joyce Soul and Sea is technically the name of the restaurant, but I always say at Joyce DTLA.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a culinary prefix evening of dining and food. We're doing it at Joyce. The conversation will be with Prince Riley, who is the proprietor of Joyce. Our homegirl from 1010 Wines, Leslie Jones, is going to be there pouring wine. And this is happening on October 16th at Joyce. So make sure that you check out our Instagram page, our YouTube page, at Food for Thought with K&E. And it's going to be moderated by Mona Holmes of Eater LA. And we're really excited to be able to bring this to people and to be able to have them experience food for thought, which is you and I, but also being able to have conversations with three people that are near and dear to us. Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. October 16th, it's $125 or $150 with the wine pairing for the dinner.
Great price, by the way.
It will be a prefix menu, 5 or 6 courses, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say this yet, but when we were speaking with Prince from Joyce, he said that Karen, Ernest, because I rock with you, I'm actually going to create meals that are not currently on our menu for your listeners to be able to come and have a good time. And I was like, say less, because he could have done the food that was on the menu, and I already would have been happy. So Culinary Conversations, October 16th. It's happening at Joyce in DTLA from 6 to 10 p.m. It is a conversation with Prince Riley of Joyce, Leslie Jones of 1010 Wine and Events, moderated by our homegirl, Mona Holmes of Eater LA.
And we'll be talking too, so
the
conversation.
We're bringing you the conversation. We will be there, and we will be kind of moderating the guest experience and guest questions. But I'm really excited about that. It's the first time that we get to go from being in the studio to being out in public and being able to do what we do, which is talk about food.
In these streets. So stay tuned to our IG, because you'll get all the details there. It's going to be a limited
tickets,
of seats. So first come, first serve. So make sure you get your tickets early. And if you want to add us today or tomorrow or the next day to say you definitely want a ticket, we'll make sure that we respond.
Yeah, it's I'm really excited about this because, for anybody that is listening or watching us on YouTube and or the Instagram, the IG, this is how our show came about. We were sitting, you mentioned Bestia, we were sitting at Bestia, and we were like, it would be dope to be able to have a conversation with other people the same way that you and I talk about food. Mm-hmm. So next thing we knew, we found ourselves with our show, Food for Thought with Karen and Ernest. And now this is the first event that we get to do exactly what we wanted to do at Bestia, which is have conversations with our friends and our listeners and our viewers, and to be able to do it in a way that is real and authentic, and Prince has said that he's going to get us all of the foods. The wine pairing with Leslie, for the people that buy the add-on for the wine pairing, she's already told us that she's going to bring some amazing wines to be able to help educate people about wines and how they work together. So I'm really excited that October 16th, we'll be doing Culinary Conversations live and in living color.
Yeah, he said it all. So. This is how it goes. That's why sometimes I leave him at home.
Not sometimes. More often than not, she be out here in these streets. It is. Sorry, I'm trying to not throw you under the bus, but I'm like, she be forgetting that my phone works. She be forgetting that I paid the bill.
It definitely works.
She was like, oh, I was at Cole's party of one, but next thing I know, she's over there with Mona and we have to. What's your friend's name? The food blogger. Okay, well,
I haven't seen him.
You haven't seen him.
I believe it's Kevin.
Kevin. Well, we're gonna have to have him on, but she'd be out in these streets. But she, one thing I don't have to worry about is the fact that you are going to not represent well, because you be in, as we talked about on one of our shows, every time she goes out, people are like, hey Karen, hey Karen, hey Karen, hey Karen. And then I show up and they're like, hey, you are who? You're
Thank you, people.
Thank you, Easter Bunny. So once again, you are watching, listening, vibing out to Food for Thought with Karen and Ernest.
Yes.
And you can find us on Instagram at Food for Thought with K&E, and that's where you can find us everywhere. So make sure to give us a follow. You can also follow us on YouTube at Food for Thought with K&E. And you, once again, are listening, vibing, watching Food for Thought with Karen and Ernest. And we are back at it. You are listening to Food for Thought with Karen and Ernest. And as I told you before the break, you can find us on Instagram at Food for Thought with K&E. You can find us on YouTube. Please follow us on YouTube at Food for Thought with K&E. And if you're one of those people that needs to be able to shoot us an email, you can find us at foodforthoughtwithknd.com.
Awesome sauce.
Awesome sauce. So next up in the food ecosystem and the food world, I want to talk about Dulan's. Dulan's on Crenshaw. So Dulan's on Crenshaw is, for those people who are here in LA, it is a heritage soul food location that is on, hence the name, on Crenshaw. And it's actually right down the street, the street from the radio station. But it's not but. So they have found themselves in a bit of a rough spot. And they have been so much so that the proprietor had found himself doing a GoFundMe to be able to help raise some money.
I think what's helpful is to your point, I love the word that you're using, heritage brand. When I was still eating chicken back in the day, they had some of the best fried chicken in LA to me. And I think that Greg Dulan has been like a force to be reckoned with. Got it honest from his father, Adolph, and I know his brother has the spot on Manchester and La Brea. And so I say all that to say that the Dulan family has been a mainstay in Los Angeles since I was a kid. And you guys know how long ago that was. And so,
in the 1900s?
not quite.
Well, we both.
Oh, yeah.
So that's my niece and nephew.
Early 1900s.
No, that's my niece and nephew's thing. I was like, I was born in 1970, and they were like, that's not real. Like I was like, oh, I want to kick you in your forehead.
So I remember when my mom introduced me to Aunt Kizzy's in the marina, and that was such a big deal that a soul food restaurant would be in the marina, right? And then I don't know what came next, but Dulan's was also happening on Crenshaw, and it was closer to the house. And so I just remember having some great meals there. And so to your point, it's so interesting how things have been going so well for Greg in terms of like renovating the restaurant and having the patio and continue to serve the community. And then also he did that deal with Vallarta on Slauson and Crenshaw and was selling pre-packaged meals there. And if you got there at noon, there were no meals. Like they sold out in the morning. And it's just so interesting that, again, things seemingly were going so well, back on the map, back in the building, all the things. And then now the situation that you're describing.
Yeah, and the situation that I am describing, because we like to make sure that we paint the whole picture. So Dulan's Soul Food is not currently closing, and I want to be very clear on that. It's not like Kohl's or a pending closing, but as you said, Greg did find himself in a bit of a financial challenge due to a large loan payment that came due for renovations that he did to, as you mentioned, to Dulan's. And he also purchased the parking lot next door to Dulan's. Whether he was planning on expanding the restaurant or what he was planning on doing with that is unclear to me. But he took out a hard money in 2023. He took out a hard money loan to remodel the restaurant and to buy the property next door. And it just a large balloon payment for this loan became due in September of 2025, and he just found himself in a bit of a strain. And the borrowed money he went through the money quicker than he was expecting, and as is always the case with renovations, the costs for the renovations and once again, I'm not really clear what his plans are for the parking lot. But he just there were cost overruns and things just got a little bit hectic. So he found himself in a situation that he was doing a GoFundMe kind of situation, and it ended up. So fortunately, because it is a community gem, the community rallied around, and were able to help him raise the funds that he needed. Now, I don't know if that was a long-term solution or if it just kind of got him out of where he is now. But it is so I moved here in '96, and I don't know, both Aunt Kizzy's Kitchen and Dulan's were both here when I came, so I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg. But you're right, like, Aunt Kizzy's Kitchen and Dulan's on Crenshaw were places that people told me initially, you've got to go. So that's definitely something that
we wish him the best in this challenging time.
Yeah, and I just want to. I'm trying to find the number, but I don't have the exact number for that he raised with the GoFundMe, and I don't know. Once again, if that was something that is a long-term solution, but I do know I'm looking online and I see that that he has raised $22,728.34 of a $500,000 goal. So it doesn't look like they have made the entire amount that they were looking to, but I will say this. $500,000 is a heavy lift. And as we are talking about businesses closing and restaurants in general, where the margins are so thin as it is, from a business standpoint, I don't know if I would have gotten into, and I don't know the finances and the deal points, to be clear, but I don't know if I would have gotten into a loan of that magnitude.
I think it's hard to say, and we don't even know the 500,000 is the entire loan or a piece projecting out to what it may need in the future, which could be smart. I just think it's one of those things where when you're not in people's shoes and you don't know their vision, right? It's hard to say what you would do. And hard money loans are just what they are. They're hard, right? Because it's lopsided and all the things. And so, again, we wish him luck. I wish there was, and maybe there is, unclear, some way that he could get money from the city or, because I think the other thing is when it comes to the community and people who are patrons and supporters and loyalists and all the things, it's just a funny time right now when it comes to money. Prices are rising. The administration, the current administration in the White House isn't doing much to help the constituents. And so it's kind of hard I would imagine, for people to make donations right about now, unless it's a situation similar to back in the day, My 2 Cent. Remember when a lot of celebrities rose, and maybe even some philanthropists that gave money. So again, I hope that whatever is happening beneath the surface is happening in a way that's favorable to the restaurant.
Yeah, and you mentioned another restaurant. So one thing that they say about Dulan's is that when we lose a longtime Black-owned business, the community loses more than a place to eat. It loses its cultural anchors, spaces for connection, and parts of its collective identity. And we mentioned, right now we're talking about Dulan's, but in general, we've been talking about businesses that are closing. And you mentioned My 2 Cents, which is another one of the community gems that has gone away. And it's just a shame to lose all of these institutions. Yeah. So you're listening to, watching, viewing Food for Thought with Karen and Ernest. Well, we are forward again, and it is always amazing to me how quickly time goes by. We're not done yet, but once again, our show is zooming by. I want to start by saying you're watching, listening, vibing, looking at on whether it's YouTube or on the radio. You're listening to, watching, vibing out to Food for Thought with Karen and Ernest. And this is the part of the show that we would normally start to do, and I say normally, but we're going to actually jump into, is our food review, our restaurant review. And we didn't have any restaurant in particular that we wanted to talk about, but before we came in to do the show, I was telling you that I went to an old standby, and when we talk about kind of heritage, when we talk about kind of heritage restaurants, I went to Crustacean, and you said that you had been to Crustacean recently also, so I think that it would be, let's talk about Crustacean. What were your thoughts about it?
I mean, I have a good time when I go to Crenshaw. I'm getting surf and turf when I'm there. I'm like getting the crab and the shaken beef, which is really good. It's like filet mignon with potatoes and vegetables, very hearty. But you mentioned, I think that you had the sea bass, and to me, that sea bass is ridiculous.
Yep, absolutely.
It's multiple ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Yeah,
I see what
you're Miriam Webster. I updated their thing with 5,000. They took it for the worser.
I don't know, but they included Riz, which is now officially in the dictionary.
They included
beast
hard
mode,
pass.
Beast mode, hard pass. This has nothing to do with food, and we'll come back to crustacean, but I don't know how I feel about the dictionary adding slang / colloquialisms into the official language of the people. Like, for example, conversate is now officially a word in the dictionary, and there ain't nothing you ever gonna be able to tell me that is a word. Like, so.
Yeah, but I think if I did the Lewis dictionary, which I've told you before, I would take all the words and make up like worser. Like, we know that's not was been.
Yeah,
we're onto something. Look for it coming soon to a store near you.
So to jump back into crustacean, so I hadn't been to crustacean in a really long time. So for me, it was kind of going back in time. And I don't think that they've redone the restaurant, so I don't think that I've been there since they redid it. I did have the sea bass.
So you haven't been in a minute.
Yeah, I haven't been in a while. Okay. So I did have the sea bass, which was amazing.
It's dumb. I concur.
Had the branzino, which I thought was very good as well. The shrimp toast didn't blow me away. I had the crab fried rice, which was really good. It needed a little bit more. Overall, I felt that it needed a little bit more salt and seasoning.
So let me tell you what you do for the crab fried rice.
Okay.
You ask them to bring you the drippings from the crab. And it's basically butter and like crispy crab.
Ooh, okay.
Which is flavored, and then you just douse it on your rice.
Okay, so
That's a trick.
So once again, Karen is going to teach me, and that's what this whole show's about. It's about educating people and letting them know that.
I hang out with Monique, and she's got to have a sauce for everything. It's like, run me that butter.
Nice. But in general, it did not disappoint. I was glad that we were able to go and to be able to check it out.
Yeah, that's my jam. I go there by myself. I'll sit at the bar and.
Yeah, and the liquor that I had the Jalisco to Saigon, or Saigon to Jalisco, but the tequila drink, which was really good. But
awesome.
You are listening to, watching, vibing out with Food for Thought with Karen and Ernest, and that's what it is. We'll be back.
You are clowning today. Is clowning today?
Yes,
a new hot dish. Okay.
I am definitely clowning, and people are listening to Food for Thought with Karen and Ernest, and now I can officially say it's amazing how quickly time goes by, because we are at the part of the show that is our hot dish. Our hot dishes are sometimes unpopular opinions, but we said what we said, and we told you in the segment before that where you can find us, at Food for Thought with K&E, on Instagram, on Threads, and on YouTube. What's your hot dish?
So my new hot dish is that I don't know why my hide gets so chapped when I may be the official planner of a gathering or a dinner, and then the person or one of the parties that's invited wants to bring someone else. That really bugs me. Like, if we're a party for five, we're a party for five. Don't try to bring the sixth person just to balance it out. Like, they weren't invited. And it's okay. It's not about being exclusive or turning people away or whatever. But if we're set and then at the last minute you're like, well, can I bring so-and-so? You can't.
She said, no, you can't. Like,
I don't know what it is. It just bothers me.
Well, and my hot dishes, I'll kind of ride along with that in that I can absolutely see that a lot of times, and it may not be personal, but a lot of times people just aren't part of that particular invite.
Right.
So I can absolutely see your disdain for wanting to add someone. What I would say is to add on to that is that the biggest challenge is when people don't even ask if they can bring someone else. So not only are you bringing someone else, you're just like, you show up and be like, oh, this is my friend Karen, or this is my friend Ernest. And like that just takes what you're saying to the whole nother level, which it's funny because I had a friend of mine who had something at her house. And one of the kind of rules of engagement were, don't ask me if you can bring a +1, and don't tell anyone about this, because I don't because her thing was she just didn't like a bunch of people in her house.
Clear.
And it's funny because I have a friend of mine who, in all conversations, I would believe would have been invited, and because their friend, it's kind of like you and me, like I would make an assumption that oh, Karen's going to be there,
right.
But I was like, yeah, I can't, and like I wanted to call and be like, hey, are you going to such and such? I was like, So when we both showed up at the party, we were like, oh, man, I wanted to call you, but she was like, don't call nobody, don't tell nobody, don't invite nobody. So that's definitely a funny thing. So
people forget etiquette, but it's also about the dynamic of the circle. And for me, my thing is, and this is some old broad stuff, like at the end of the day, I got to get my mind right for other people. But if I know who the group is, and I'm good with it, then I'm cool, and I don't have to censor myself. I can be transparent, all the things. But when you factor in another person, it just changes the whole dynamic.
Absolutely.
That's really what it is for me.
Yep.
Well, another one.
Well, and all right, in your DJ Khaled voice, another one.
Yeah.
Well, so you are listening to, watching, vibing out with us at Food for Thought with Karen and Ernest. And if wherever you are listening to us, we thank you, we love you, we do this for you, and we can't do this without you.
October 16th, y'all.
October 16th, Culinary Conversations. Make sure you check us out. Bye!